With Verizon and AT&T's mobile share plans and share everything plans, a lot of people are realizing their bills are going to be a little bit higher. So for those people, they're switching to prepaid, and it's becoming a pretty huge market with some of the prepaid carriers getting some awesome devices. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and one of those devices is in the house. Now, the Kyocera Rise may not have all of the crazy features that the Galaxy S3 or the HTC One X or even the iPhone 5 have, but it's available for $100 without a contract, and plans start as cheap as $35. So it's a great option for a lot of people. Perhaps somebody buying a phone for their kid, somebody buying a phone for mom or dad. It's a great choice and something that's worthy of looking at. Let's take a look at it in the unboxing, but first, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this that we turn around and give to you in PhoneDog's One-Pawed Bandit game, which can be found at instantwin.phonedog.com. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you won't deal with rebates, waiting 8 to 10 weeks for a crazy debit card that's hard to use anyway. You won't mess with paperwork. At Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out the door with the after rebate price. Let's take a look at it. Kyocera Rise. Is this the device for you? Is this a device for perhaps your siblings, your offspring? We'll find out in the unboxing, which starts right now. Android comes alive and actually at a pretty decent price point as well. This is the Virgin Mobile Kyocera Rise. It's available at the retailer, or at the carrier rather, for $99.99, and that's without a contract. So $100. We talked a lot over the past couple of weeks about $100 devices, and while specs-wise this may not be the most amazing device, for $100 without a contract, it's always something that's worth checking out. This runs obviously on the nationwide Sprint 3G network, since Virgin Mobile is a mobile virtual network operator for Sprint. And then, of course, you got a 3.5-inch touchscreen here. You got a 1 GHz Snapdragon S2 processor, a 3-megapixel camera with 480p HD, or 480p VGA, non-HD camcorder. You got a 1,500 milliamp hour battery as well, and a physical QWERTY keyboard. So this could be a great option. Perhaps you got somebody that's in your family that's 12, 13, coming up, wants their first smartphone. I see this as being a great option for people as they kind of test their kids. Can they hold on to the device? Can they keep it from dropping it? Can you, have any issues? Take that sticker off. Sorry about that. There we go. Will they have any issues holding on to the device, as I was saying? Let me find the battery, too. Getting sidetracked here. For a good time, call Sir Richard, 546-587-4844. Sir Richard Branson, maybe? Virgin Mobile, Basics Guide, Phone Insurance, General Terms and Conditions. But as I was saying, I see this as a great option for perhaps Christmas gift or Hanukkah gift for kids, perhaps for somebody that doesn't use their phone as much as they, you try and get this out here as normal people would. Let's pull this out. AC adapter module. You want to see all this stuff. Got the Kyocera AC adapter module, and my abilities to open plastic. Oh, and it falls off the desk, so I'm not going to be able to get that. AC adapter module does come in the box, and of course a USB cable as well. We won't try that again. But you got your Kyocera Rise here with a nice physical QWERTY keyboard. Also, 4-row QWERTY keyboard, dedicated row for spacebar. You got a D-pad over here as well, and then on screen you got back, home, recent applications, and a menu button. This thing does have Android 4.0 out of the gate, though I'm not quite sure if there's any Kyocera customizations to it or if it's a stock implementation. We'll be sure to check that out once we power it on. So again, 1,500 milliamp hour battery here, and let's throw this back on. Flash on the back with that 3-megapixel camera, and then over on the side you got your volume rocker, your micro USB charging port. Over here on this side, a camera shortcut button, power button, and 3.5 millimeter headphone jack up on top. And then we'll take a look at the keyboard as well. Powering up now. Hopefully the battery has some juice. We'll find out if it does or not. Yep, there we go. Perfect. Rise by Kyocera. Starting up now. 3.5-inch display. So same display size as the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 4S, along with a physical QWERTY keyboard. And there we go. Camera on the back. Qualcomm 3G CDMA. It's actually a pretty decent looking device, and the keyboard opens and closes pretty easily. So again, for $100, not a bad option whatsoever. So obviously this is going to pale in comparison to like the One V's of the world and the One X's and the Galaxy S3s and the Razr M's and all of that stuff, but keeping in mind that this thing is $100 out the door without a contract, that's a pretty nice value proposition. Going to flick that to unlock, and we'll take a look at the device. Sprint ID pre-installed, or I don't know if it's called Sprint ID or Virgin Mobile ID. They're just calling it Mobile ID, I guess. So not Sprint ID on this device, but it's interesting to see that rolling out to Virgin devices as well. Thought that was a Sprint exclusive thing, so very interesting to see there. Out of the gate, you get activate, battery, you get a couple of different things. Downloads, eco mode, Google Plus integration, ICE in case of emergency. You get mobile ID like we just showed off, Google Plus Messenger, My Account, then you get Virgin Mobile Live as well, and of course you got your widgets over here. So it looks to be a relatively stock implementation of Android 4.0. We can go over here to system settings and take a look. Yeah, it looks pretty stock to me, with maybe some slight Motorola or slight Kyocera customizations maybe, but not much. Let's see what we can do here. And then, of course, all the stuff that you saw out of the gate. So let's go back in here into applications and take a look. Battery, for example, you can see a shortcut to battery. And I've got all my applications and what's running. I can scroll back and forth through those. Now I've got Messenger right here. Let's take a look at the physical QWERTY keyboard. And let's start up a new message and take a look. We'll say the Quick Brown Fox. Quick Brown Fox. Can't type today. Brown Fox is ready to roll. So I can already tell you the number one challenge with this keyboard. The Q and the A and the Z, as you can see down here, are all centered to the left. And if you look at a typical keyboard, that's not the case. I'll pull over my Bluetooth keyboard, for example, so you can take a look. Obviously, Q, A, and Z is centered this way, so obviously that bottom row, even though it's smaller, is more centered towards the center of the keyboard. Whereas over here, everything's kind of shifted to make room for the D-pad. So if you're used to a typical keyboard setup, which I imagine, unless you're using the Dvorak look and feel, you are, that might be a challenge for some people. But then you got your on-screen option here, swipe pre-installed, and then you have Google Voice typing, and then of course the Android keyboard as well. So we'll switch over to the Android keyboard and take a look. And so maybe a little bit easier for some people to type on that. 3G connectivity here as well, shortcut to the settings and the notifications bar, and then of course here's our browser as well. So again, you know, prepaid is becoming a big thing because the carriers, particularly AT&T and Verizon, with their mobile share plans and their share everything plans, it's getting expensive. And so for people that, you know, some people are looking at Straight Talk and Virgin Mobile and Boost. And so you see these prepaid carriers getting devices like Galaxy S2s and Galaxy S3s and HTC One Vs and things like that. Could be a matter of time before a lot of people switch to prepaid. But out of the gate, it is very odd, I will say, to have a capacitive menu button. That's something I'm still not used to because I've been using on-screen buttons, or on-screen menu buttons at least, for so long on Android 4.0. So let's load up phonedog.com here and take a look. I'm going to X that out. I'm going to go to phonedog.com. Bam. And we'll load that up on Virgin Mobile's 3G network. Now, obviously, Sprint's 3G network having some issues in select markets. Very, very slow in a lot of places, but it looks to be relatively zippy right now. And then you've got a stock Android look and feel here. Got your tabs up top. Plus, you can add a new tab and then scroll back and forth between that and what's active. So even though it has a Snapdragon S2 processor, I do notice some lag, but again, you got to evaluate lag versus the fact that this thing is $100 out of the gate without a contract. So if you're looking for just a basic phone, perhaps you're looking for something for work or a secondary phone or something for your kids, something for your mom, your dad. They don't use a whole lot of minutes. They don't need a whole lot. You can get this pretty cheap, $100, and their plans start at $35 a month. Keep it locked on phonedog.com for continuing coverage. 5 home screens as well. That's a nice little touch. Again, very stock Android look and feel. So again, maybe if you want a stock experience, this could be a device to go with as well. Keep it locked on phonedog.com for continuing coverage on the Kyocera rise and more about Virgin Mobile as we continue to cover the prepaid providers. It's a very important market now. And so I'm excited to be covering this more on the site. Be sure to like us on Facebook, facebook.com/phonedog. We're starting up the greatest tech giveaway ever too, so be sure to check it out at facebook.com/phonedog and on the site at phonedog.com. We do giveaways every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, so be sure to check it out. You could win a free smartphone. And also be sure to follow me on Twitter at phonedog_Aaron and on Facebook at facebook.com/phonedogab. Let me know what you think of these devices because I'm particularly interested to hear from you. Even at $100 off contract, are devices like this, do they have a place in the market? I'd love to hear from you on Twitter, phonedog_Aaron, Facebook, facebook.com/phonedogab. Thanks so much for watching. Much more coverage to come, not only on Virgin Mobile, but on the Kyocera rise on the site, so be sure to stay tuned. And as always, we'll see you next time.